Difficult. Women.
You ready?
Yeah.
Set.
Go.
Yahoo. No.
Go.
Hello and welcome to Difficult Women podcast.
Hi, I'm Katy.
And I'm Marie. And we're also Reformed Whores.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It's a band.
It's our band.
I was going to say, go watch our band. And I guess you should. If you can come see us, that'd be great. But also, you can watch a video. You could also listen to us because we're a band. So there's lots of ways to ingest the Reformed Whores.
I had a friend who didn't even know that I was in a band discover us somehow at work. So the last time I was at work, he was like, "Oh my God, you're so funny." And I was like, this was like completely out of the blue. And I was like, well, thank you. I mean, just like in general or like anything specific. He was like, "No, you and your friend Katy, you're so funny." So I guess he had found out through the grapevine that I'm actually a musical comedian. Yeah. So it was very exciting.
We're hilarious. Everybody should watch us and listen to us.
Well, speaking of work, so I have many side hustles, but something happened to me on Friday night that I wanted to share with our listeners and then also with you.
I don't have a clue what it is.
Oh, God. So one of my side hustles, I don't work there often, but it's like a big beer hall here in Brooklyn. And I actually love that job. It's so fun. Everyone there is so great. I bartend sometimes, and then sometimes I like cocktail waitress, but in a beer hall, it's really...
Here's your beer.
Yeah, here you go. So Friday night, I was cocktail serving, and this guy, I went up to the table. It was like a table full of men, and I asked if I could get them anything from the bar. And this man immediately goes, "How many children do you have?" And I was like,
"The fuck?
Excuse me?" He was like, "You're so cute. How many kids do you have?" And I was so taken aback. And I immediately was like, "Is that your pickup line? Because, honey, we need to have..."
Such a fucked up question.
Yeah. It was so fucked up. And I kind of, instead of like being aggressive about it, I kind of did the full Nashville Southern Belle thing of just like, zero. I don't want kids. I mean, I do want kids. Or maybe I want kids. I don't know. It's just like, that's none of your fucking business, you Mr. Stranger.
Like, who the fuck is he to ask you that?
Then I immediately knew he was a loser because he was like, "Do you have Bass on tap?" And I was like, "Bass on tap? Okay, this is like a craft beer bar, but okay." No. So anyway, throughout the rest of the night, he was so aggressive towards me about like, he came up to the behind like the workstation where people aren't even supposed to come. He came to apologize, and he was touching me. Every time I continued to pass him, he was like, he would grab me over to their table.
So fucking
He then
weird.
slipped me a note with his phone number and like that he wants to take me out. And so finally I had to like nip it in the bud. And I said, "I've been with someone for 5 years," which is not true, but I immediately said that.
Yeah.
And then he grabbed my hand and looked at my ring finger and was like, "I don't see a ring there." And I was just, this is the patriarchy. This is the problem right here at this table. This man, because I don't belong to another man,
right?
He has full rights to like abuse me like that.
I want to kick him in the balls so badly.
Yeah. It was.
What
I've never
the
had that
fuck?
happen at that place. I actually went to my manager and was like, "Just so you know, I'm kind of having an issue at this table." And even the other cocktail waitress was like, "Do you want me to take them from now on?" I was like, "No, I got this." But he gave me a note. Sorry, I'm not emotional. I'm just sick.
Yeah, you're just very ill. He probably gave you the plague for touching you.
He gave me this note with like, it was like a long note of how he wanted to take me out and then his phone number and stuff. And I think I got him at the end because when he came up to the server station again, which you're not supposed to fucking do, when he was leaving. And I was like, "What's your name again?" You know, I was like, trying to, know, and he was like, "You don't remember my name?" And I was like, no, I don't care. You know, he was like, "I'm not a stalker. I'm not going to like come." And, you know, I was like, "Well, you saying that makes me actually really scared." So
yeah.
Bye, boy. But I've never experienced that there. I felt like so many people were supportive because they were watching it happen.
Right.
But it's still, to be honest, I felt like I kind of crumbled in it. I wish I could have been stronger. I was just so taken aback. And then I led with like trying to be nice and like Southern, you know, just kind and hospitable. But in the end, it kind of bit me in the ass because he continued. I should have just nipped it in the bud at the very beginning.
Right. So that's so interesting. I mean, first of all, I think that guy is not picking up social cues, like picking up cues. He's acting a little entitled or very entitled to, you know, be so forward and asking. First of all, to start with asking you about children, there's so many reasons why that's not okay to just ask somebody like that.
Yeah. Hi, can I get you something from the bar? How many kids you got?
Like that. First of all, you're a stranger. If I have kids, I don't need you to know anything about them.
Right.
Number two, if I don't have kids, there are many, many reasons why people don't have kids. He doesn't know if you maybe wanted kids, maybe you can't have kids, maybe your child got hit by a bus last week. I mean, you really don't know. So like, that's just really insane to kind of go there. The other thing that occurs to me, I mean, clearly, you know how I actually feel about this. But if I were to play like devil's advocate or play like from his perspective, or if any man out there is listening who's confused by this story because he's like, wait, he just liked you and wanted to ask you out. Like, how do we navigate this now? Like, how do we, like, what's the situation? I mean, I suppose, like, first of all, he had a bad come on line. That's definitely number one.
Gentlemen, don't ask that. That's not what you lead with.
And it sounds like the thing that was the least appealing to you was that he just felt like he owned you, like you said with the ring thing. So I mean, that's also very presumptuous of somebody to like treat a woman like she's a potential object to be
property.
And that for some reason he thinks he has some right to you. But if that's even confusing, like if he's like, well, I think he just liked you and just really wanted to go out with you, he didn't know how to like ask you. I guess like two things. One is you gotta get better on reading social cues, everybody. And secondly, like maybe definitely not putting this on you, but maybe like, and I know why women don't do this. We talked about this a lot, that like you don't always feel safe, especially when you're the employee.
This is my job.
And you know, you're working for tips and you're working for, so like if you shit on people, you could get fired. If you like yelled at him, you could, you know, not make any money from that table if like they get pissed at you. So you're dancing this weird, delicate line. I guess in theory, it would be nice if you could just be like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not interested, or I'm, you know, married or whatever. But also, why do you have to lie and
I know.
Stuff too?
Well, I was joking with my manager because I have a little silver ring that I keep on my right finger. I was joking that maybe I need to start like wearing a fake wedding band, but that's fucked up too.
Yeah.
It's like I belong to another man, so you can't.
Right. So you're off limits. Yeah. It reminds me of that time we were in, we've talked about this, I think, on the pod before, but we had a show and we were at some bar and we just wanted to have, we actually had stuff we needed to talk about. I don't remember what it was, but we were actually having a serious conversation. And this like drunk dude and his friend come over and they just, without asking, he just like sits in the booth. And I said to him, I was like, please leave. I was like, I really don't want you to be here right now. And he was just like, come on. And he would not leave. And I was getting increasingly angry and like increasingly bitchy. I think you were like getting really uncomfortable. You're like, oh God, what's going to happen here? But I was just like, wait a minute.
I said no.
And now you're not. Like now I'm starting to get, aside from angry, I'm getting scared because I'm like, what's happened? I've totally lost control over this situation when it should be simple. You asked if you could sit down and I said no. That's it. That's the whole conversation. And I feel like that's similar with this, where it's like, he's like, how many kids you got? And you're like, oh, hey, no, thanks. You know? And then it's like, he can't.
And then every time I walk by their table, he would go,
gross.
I'm like, all right.
Gross. He almost, I wonder, I'm curious about his, like, what kind of a dude he was. Like, was he from New York? Was he like
Brooklyn raised. He was there with his cousins. He also, he didn't have a ring on his finger, except he did have a tattooed ring on his finger.
Yeah, so we don't even know what his situation was.
So just like,
yeah, fuck that guy.
But it really has stuck with me for several days. It just made me feel so icky and
it's
and
awful.
also like a little disappointed in myself that I wasn't able to.
But I think,
but of course, it's like,
I think that we just laid out like why. You're in a lose-lose situation there, because then if you like try to be firm, you lose. You either lose a tip or he gets weird, or you know.
It's just unfortunate that you can't just be civil with strangers when in that circumstance. Like I have so much fun at that job. I love meeting new people that come in, and we, you know, you have to be very knowledgeable of the cocktails and the beers and all that sort of stuff. And I love having conversations with strangers about that sort of thing. But I want to continue like being friendly and stuff. But this just really hurt this. Yeah. Like I don't know if I'll feel comfortable going up to a table and being as friendly as I usually am. So that's a bummer.
That is a bummer.
We all lose.
Yeah, everybody loses. I mean, I hope for your sake and for whatever that you can feel like you can shake that off to some degree. Mm-hmm. And then if it feels like it happens again with somebody, you can try to just shut it down. Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, that's I think is a whole other episode I'd like to do down the line is about waiting tables and as a waitress
and like what a dilemma
history of that
is,
and all that stuff. Yeah, but anyway,
that's interesting.
That happened to me, and it's like trying to shake it.
Well, if you're a guy out there and you're you don't know how to handle asking a girl out and then you get mad and horny, there's a place you can go. You can go to adamandeve.com. Am I right?
Yeah, that's right,
girl. Take it away. Free stuff is awesome, but free stuff to spice up your bedroom is even better.
Select almost any one item for 50% off, and then Adam and Eve loads on the free stuff.
Enter offer code HORIO at checkout and get 10 tantalizing free gifts.
A sexy item for him, a special gift for her, and a third item you'll both enjoy.
And 6 free spicy movies.
Ooh! Plus, free shipping.
That's HORIO, WHOREO, HORIO at adamandeve.com.
And we're back.
Oh, yes.
I'm so excited about today's topic.
Man, that's so funny because this topic depressed me so much when I went into it. So I'm hoping you've got more happy things to share because I had some sad stuff that I found.
Oh, that's fascinating.
I may have just gone off on the wrong tangent, which is like me, but...
We're not talking 4-H again, okay?
No, I wouldn't be so depressed if it was about 4-H.
All right, well, today we're going to be talking about why women are proposing to their men.
Yeah, that part was cool.
Yeah.
So you had found this article. It ended up being a Washington Post article. And
right.
Stuff.
Yeah. Yes, I saw that. So yeah, more and more women are proposing to their men, which I think is so freaking cool, and it's about fucking time.
Totally. Well, in this article that you had found, the woman proposed to her now husband, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Up in the sky.
Well, it was like, okay, that was the thing too. When I started reading it, she was like, when I proposed, like I couldn't get on my knee because I was floating in the air. And I kept reading it thinking it was like poetic. And I was like, what is this weird writing in this article? And then I realized like, oh no, they were actually in an anti-gravity, like zero gravity plane ride or something.
But that made me so anxious because she does describe they're floating, with zero gravity. He like dives for the ring box, then opens it in the ring, floats up. I'm like, oh my God, grab that ring. But I mean, that's fairly romantic, I would say.
Well, I just want to say that if you wanted to read this article along with us, we're very bad about giving real
right. I know, we just make everything
sources.
Up. No.
Yeah. So the article was called "More Women Proposing to Boyfriends," I think, and it was by Molly. Oh God, how do you say her name? Bludoff Indelicato. And it was in the Washington Post, January 12th, 2020. It was posted at 2 a.m.
She's like,
I don't know. I don't know how to cite things. I forgot. I'm not in school. Anyway, if you want to find it, go for it. Now let's continue.
Yes. Okay. So wait, why is this so depressing for you?
Well, so
I thought it was exciting.
First I want to talk about the exciting part. So she sort of describes her proposal and all that, but she talks specifically about her relationship and why in her situation it made a lot of sense for her to be the one to propose. And in her scenario, when they started dating, he knew very early on that he wanted something very committed. Yeah, that he wanted to be committed to her. And she was the one that was not, I'm not even sure that she wasn't committed to him, but it was just like she wasn't so sure. She wasn't sure yet. It's okay. She was the one that needed more time. So they had kind of agreed that she would be the one to propose ahead of time. And I was like, that makes so much sense. And I think a lot of times, traditionally, we think of the men being the one that is not into commitment. Right. So it makes sense then for that person to be the one that, like, if the other person knows you're in it, then it makes sense.
This is also a very heterosexual conversation today, I have to say.
Well, and they talked about that too, that one of the reasons why women are being more bold in their proposals
is because of LGBTQ.
Yeah, because you see an LGBTQ relationship that, you don't, it's not a man versus woman thing anymore. Did you ever see that video of those two gay men that were on vacation somewhere and they like basically accidentally proposed to each other in the same moment? Like they were both planning on proposing on this trip, And so one of them starts and the other one's like, oh my God, are you serious? And he was like, yes, I'm serious. And he was like, hold on. And I think that the first guy was like worried because he's like, wait, why is he? And then he pulled out a ring and he was planning to propose. So like, I loved that so much.
Well, I have 2 friends that just got engaged in Africa. They went on freaking safari last week and to gay men, and one of them proposed, but he had 2 rings, which I love.
That's nice. Yeah.
And also they were like, they went on safari and then they had the people like leading the safari do a breakfast, and they sent me pictures. I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
That's so romantic.
Anyway, that's where I would like to be proposed to, or me proposing to him. Oh, I don't know what I'll do. Probably, I have no idea.
Well, one thing I like about the sort of the way that's set up, like if you kind of go into it knowing like, look, the person that you propose is the one that's needed a little bit more time to decide, then it feels a lot more like the person that's getting proposed to isn't backed up against a wall.
That's the feeling. Weird. Like, I hate watching those like Jumbotron proposals at baseball games or with sporting events, because that would be my worst nightmare. Like, what? Because you definitely have your back up against the wall if the guy gets down on one knee with the fucking, you're up on the Jumbotron, the whole stadium is watching you. And there's been footage of people saying like, no. Yeah, because fuck you for doing that. Don't do that. Not at a sporting event unless you have a conversation beforehand.
Right.
We're going to do it at the Browns game. Is that a sports
or
grade?
I think sometimes you have like I think that the way this works is frequently in relationships. I don't really know what I'm talking about because I haven't really been in this position, sadly. But like I think what happens is that people frequently will sort of be talking about marriage. So when they get proposed to, they kind of know it's going to be coming eventually. I think that's the ideal situation, but of course there are certainly those times where it is unexpected, and those poor people, I don't even know. As a kid, I used to stress out about that as a concept, and I remember thinking, I decided as a kid that if I ever was on a Jumbotron and somebody I didn't love proposed to me, I would say yes, and then be like, later. Dude, I'm sorry, we gotta talk about this.
Right.
Like, fuck you for doing that to me, and also, but I didn't want to publicly humiliate you,
right?
Because that's being recorded. And now especially now with the internet, it's like you're going to be forever known as the guy that got like dumped publicly. So I saved your ass, but also we have to break up now because like I don't want to marry you.
Well, I remember when I was 22 years old, 21, 22, I was dating an older guy, and we were driving and he said something. I don't even know what we were talking about. That he said, well, we'll do that at our wedding. And what? We've been dating for like just a couple of months. Yeah. And he was already there. Yeah. So I immediately broke up with him because I was like, he doesn't love me. He just wants to get married.
Right. Or more importantly, I'd say more importantly, you weren't feeling it for him.
Well, yeah.
So if you know that he's,
But also, I just was so clear what he was looking for, and it wasn't me. Have you ever been proposed to?
Sort of.
Really?
Yeah. I was in a relationship when I was in my early 20s where we talked about getting married like a lot. I think he was way more into it than I was. But it definitely, we had conversations that were like, when we get married, and then I was always a little bit afraid he was going to propose like officially with the ring, because I didn't really think I wanted that. I definitely needed more time to decide. Right. And then it turned out he was awful and cheated on me and stuff. So it was good that we didn't get married. But like that's probably the closest I've ever been to it. And then I was dating someone for a bunch of years who was wonderful, and we definitely talked about future things. But I think it was a much more healthy relationship. So things were unfolding in a healthy way. And I was never worried that he was going to pop something on me that I wasn't ready for. And I don't think he would want to do that to me. Yeah.
I don't think it's fair that the men get to decide, I want to get married now. It's like, we've talked about it in past episodes where if you're in a good relationship, you're checking in all the time, so you're both on the same page. And I love the idea of proposing together. Like our good friend Rebecca Vigil, last year, she went to Belize with her boyfriend. And before they went, they had a conversation that they were going to propose to each other in Belize.
That's really cool.
And so when they were there, I don't know if they both got down on one knee. That'd be kind of cute. But I think they got each other rings, and they now wear both of those engagement rings.
That's really lovely.
And now they're having a real hard time planning their wedding because it's New York City and everything's so expensive. Goddamn expensive.
Yeah,
but I love that, and I get excited about where we're headed with this, because traditionally it really is the man is proposing marriage. I mean, there's so much history of that. It's like the woman is property.
Totally. I think also, in addition to that, they were making the point in the article too that that traditionally also women didn't work really,
right?
So they didn't have any money to buy a ring, so they couldn't really propose with a ring.
Mm-hmm.
So it was always kind of on the man to do it, only because they had the money to do it, to buy the thing and do the thing.
Well, the diamond thing is such fucking bullshit.
Oh, that's
you guys.
Yeah, oh my God.
Come on. We're still doing it though, but it was just a marketing scheme in the 30s, because I was reading, I didn't know this, but I guess that they're in Africa, they had discovered all these diamonds.
Right.
And so a way to get rid of them all
right.
Was that they created this marketing campaign in the 30s where diamonds are forever.
Well, and I think
they but there are so many diamonds. They're not as rare as we were led to believe.
I can't remember exactly how this worked, but it was something along the lines of like the company that realized there was diamonds. They like hoarded them, so they controlled the outputting of them, the exporting of them. So they could say that they were rare because they controlled all of them. But it's a huge
and
problem.
Then like the 3-month salary thing too. They kind of created that full 3-month salary for a ring that I know I can't even
it.
I know, that's what I was about to say. I have a beloved water bottle that was given to me a couple months ago, and I know I'm just going to lose it. I lose everything, especially jewelry.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, yeah. So let's not put too much money into it, because I know I'm going to lose it.
Yeah.
And certainly don't give me a family heirloom, because
oh God.
Or do, and I'll keep it in my security deposit box.
And you'll never see it again.
Sad,
no, I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't like that either, the super expensive jewelry thing. I'm not into that. I know some girls are. But I think, no offense to anybody listening who might like be obsessed with engagement rings.
I mean, I was there. Trust me. In my 20s, like I picked out like what kind of ring I wanted, what kind of setting, what diamond, what cut, all that sort of stuff. But now I think, because I'm a little older, I guess, and have been, I don't know, I just feel like I want my equal. And this is just for me. That I might propose. I don't know. It just depends. The person I'm seeing now, we haven't really talked about marriage, other than I did bring up recently that when I do get married, I want separate bedrooms.
Oh, I would love that.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah.
And his eyes, he kind of looked at me funny.
I like the idea of having separate bedrooms, and then but like 99% of the time you sleep together in one room.
Right.
But then if somebody's sick or if
snoring.
or snoring, or if you just kind of, maybe you fought that night or something, I think it's okay to have like a break. And I think sometimes the bed sharing can be a challenge.
Just to have an option.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And the other room, it doesn't like, it could be kind of like an office room that has a bed in it, or like a guest bedroom that you also know is your. I don't know.
Right. The in-laws sleep in it too, and take together,
cool.
all of us together. I don't know.
Just planning all of the problems we'll have in our marriages.
I do really, really do want to get married. So I said it there.
Yeah. Good. That's good. If you know that, it's good to know that you want what you want. You know.
I fear that I won't, but I do.
I'd like to get married, but to the right person, and I'd want them to want to get married. And I don't know. I think I'd prefer to be married, but I think also like it's not a deal breaker
it's not
for
the
me.
be all end all.
It's just not the big deal for me.
Yeah,
I just want.
I'd rather be in a Hallmark movie. Is that weird?
Yeah, that's real weird.
That's where my standards
are. Another cool thing that I really liked about that I've discovered in that article was I didn't realize that Elizabeth Warren had proposed to her husband.
I know. I actually didn't either.
That was kind of cool to know. And then I fell down a wormhole of like her and her husband, and then I was like sobbing because they are so cute together.
Oh.
They're just so cute together. He's so supportive of her. It made me really not sad. I don't want to be like, it made me sad that he's supportive of her, but it's just that we should all have that. We should all have a partner. All of our partners to each other should be that supportive and much of cheerleaders for us. That sentence didn't make sense, but you get what I'm trying to say. I was also, side note, I didn't really put all this together. I don't know why I just didn't know any of this stuff, but I guess she had been married before,
I didn't know she was divorced, I guess.
Yeah, so she had married before. She'd had 2 kids, and she was separated from her husband. She was a single mother in like teaching law, and then met this guy at sort of like a law party. I don't know what it was. It was some sort of event for law teachers. And it was like love at first sight. He was saying in the interview, he was like, for me, it was like the minute I saw her. Oh. And she's like, it took me a little bit longer. It wasn't until the next day that I was fully in love with him. I'm like, oh my God.
Oh my God. You guys. Well, I like the story that she was watching him teach. That's what made her, like he was teaching. I guess she was watching him teach. And then afterwards he came up to her and said, so what did you think? And she said, will you marry me?
And he was like, yeah.
But yes, to watch, for me, it's like whenever I watch a comedian kill, I'm like, marry me.
Yeah,
which that's a whole other thing too.
Well, that's a whole problem. Yeah. But the other thing I liked about it was she made a joke about how the day that she fell in love with him, she's like, he was wearing these little shorts and he has nice legs.
Oh,
and I was like, God. Oh, I love you guys. It's
in the 70s too, right? So the shorts must have been pretty short.
Super short, I'm sure. And then he was like, yes, she was objectifying me. And she's like, I guess I was. And I was like, oh my God, I love this whole interview. But I will say, on a side note, I was surprised that, and I think I don't know if this is just the way it's supposed to be. I don't know. This was interesting to me. So she was married. She had 2 kids. Warren is her first husband's last name.
Right.
So she didn't go back to her maiden name.
She kept it.
And then she's not known as her current husband. They've been married for 35 years and she never went by his name, which I was like, that's so strange.
The name thing is fascinating.
And then I realized my mom did the same thing. My mom is still kind of known as Nancy Frame sometimes. And that's so strange. And I even at the time, I think if it were me and I was getting a divorce, I'd be like, bitch, I'm gonna take my name back.
Yeah.
And I would go back. But I think professionally, a lot of times when people were getting married in their 20s, they were starting their professional lives, and it's so hard then to go back and change your name. So you just get known as
Would you change your name?
Is.
I mean, you have such a great name.
I don't really want to change my name. I definitely don't mind the idea of being referred to as Mrs. So-and-so. But I wouldn't like change it on my checks and stuff, I don't think. And professionally, I think like when I'm winning my best Oscar for best director, because we need more of that.
Yeah.
I would definitely stay as Katy Frame. But I guess like if you do change your name in your first marriage and then you divorce, that's a complicated situation. And especially if potentially our first president, female president, will be named the name of her husband who's not in her ex-husband who's not in the picture anymore will be immortalized and not her name. And that kind of makes sense. So is that why you're sad? Strange to me. No, that's not why I'm sad, but that is definitely some part of the sadness that makes me sad.
Yeah, that is kind of strange. A bummer.
So I don't know.
It's probably that time, though, I guess.
It's 100% that time. Yeah. But also, like, I mean, everybody makes their choices with the name thing, and I don't have any. I have my own personal opinions about what I would want, but I don't feel bad. Whatever, people can do what they want. But it is strange to me that it could be President Warren, and that's not her husband's name. That's not her name. That's like this other dude that we don't even know anything about. His name gets to be immortalized on all of the plaques and in all of the paintings and all of the things. It's his name.
Maybe she did it for the children. She kept it for her kids.
Sure, but my point is
they're going to be happy about
that. But
in
terms of like going down in history.
Totally. Oh, I get it.
It's so strange.
It's strange.
And there's never been another president where like they had to not have their name. It wasn't there. It was always their name. And even if it was Hillary Clinton, it would have been President Clinton.
Right.
That's not her name.
This is down a whole worm.
Wormhole.
What's it? I don't know. Man,
it's a whole worm over here. So anyway, that's how my brain works. So it gets complicated. But I was happy that it was cool that she, proposed. I don't know. I guess that was where.
Well, I called my mom this morning because my mom is a very strong, independent woman and definitely the head of our household. And so I called my mom and I said, Mom, did Dad really propose or did you? Because all of a sudden it kind of hit me that maybe my mother did actually propose, because with my parents, they're celebrating their 45th wedding anniversary this year.
Amazing.
They'd met 3 months after they had met, they were engaged, and then 6 months after they had met, they were married, and they're still married today. Strong, it's great. Yeah. So I called to be like, well, how did it really go down? And I got both of them. They were on speakerphone in the car, and they both started laughing. And then my mom said, this is a conversation to have maybe in 10 or 20 more years over martinis.
what?
And I was like, I'm sorry. What happened? Oh, God. La, 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 la. What happened? I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't know the real answer. Yeah. But well, let me know. I guess I don't know the real engagement story of my parents.
That's interesting.
Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah.
I guess your parents do have secrets and they don't have to tell. Of course they have secrets.
They have so many secrets.
I know, so many secrets. It
drives me crazy.
But they've never said anything like that before. I thought it was like my dad proposed to my mom. I was like, nope, that's not the real story. So maybe, hopefully someday I'll get the real story.
Out of them, yeah.
I don't know what that is.
That's interesting. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that mystery.
Yeah.
All right. Now you want to know why I'm so depressed? I know why this story made me really sad.
Oh, no. Why?
Because when we talked about doing this as a topic, we were sort of like, oh, is it like enough to talk about for like the pod? There's a little inside baseball for you guys. So I was like, well, there's also something to be said for like, what about like women asking men out and women just taking a more assertive role, a leading role in relationships in that way.
FLR. There's an actual term for it. Female-led relationships.
Oh, interesting.
Didn't even know that.
I did not find that.
And there's certain dating sites that
interesting.
pride themselves.
I think you definitely found more positive, cool things than I did. I don't know what happened to me.
But do bring us down. I love it. What's up?
And then you'll bring us back up. Okay.
Okay. So we'll try.
I was feeling pretty optimistic. Like I was going to find some really cool stuff and I was excited. And then I started Googling things like women dating, taking the reins of the relationship, women being more assertive in a relationship, just like those kinds of things to see what would pop up. And every time I would like Google another thing like that, it would always be 90% like the first thing that popped up was definitely like an incel thing that was like women are trying to control men, they're brainwashing you, da 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 da. And I was like, that's unfortunate. Okay, well, what about the next article? And the next one was like, it broke it down where it was saying like, women, you can't let the women have all the control in the relationship. Here are the 3 scenarios in which the relationship can unfold. 1, she has all the power. This is the least desirable scenario. Number 2, you share the power. That scenario is okay. It's not so bad where you can make concessions. 3, the other option is that you have all the power. This is the ideal scenario where you are in charge of everything and you as a man decide what you do every day. And I was like, oh my God, what is happening? And I kept it was one article after the next. And what struck me is that all of these articles, and even articles written by women where they were like, should you ask a guy out first? And they were like, no, under no circumstances should you ever ask the guy out first because it makes you look desperate. And then he has the power and he has the control because then, blah. And it was the words that I saw more than anything were power and control, power, control. Who has the power? Who has the control? Who has the power? Who has the control? And like, that made me so sad because I was like, why are we living in a way, and I think that is definitely by far the main way people think about relationships, but it's like a power struggle, or it's like who's controlling who. And like, I don't want to control anybody, and I don't want anybody to control me. I want to have a buddy that I like sleeping with, and I want to like be in a supportive environment. And these breakdowns of these relationships and how you should do your relationship, we're so focused on controlling the other person and manipulating the other person. So for the advice for women, it was always like, from other women, was always like, don't you dare ask him out first. You're going to make him ask you out. What? Like, what?
Oh, games. Too many games.
So many games.
It's manipulation.
Yeah. And then like my best outcome when I was Googling was there was back to back, I saw these 2 headlines and was just like, I give up. The first one was 8 damn good reasons why women should start asking men out. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. And then immediately following, the next article was called The Brutal Truth About Why You Should Never Ask a Man Out. Oh my God. And I was like, I'm so confused. I don't know anymore. And full disclosure, like I'm coming, and I think maybe one of the reasons why this depresses me as much as it does is I am a very assertive dater. I've never been afraid of asking a dude out. You've seen me crash and burn a couple times where I'm like, I'm gonna ask him out, and then it goes real bad, and then you move on with your life. I get sad about it, but like but I'm willing to put myself out there. But I'm very aware that the common advice, and this is just like real talk, the common advice for women is don't do it. And that bums me out because that's very part of who I am. Like I am very
Katy,
aggressive.
Please continue to be your aggressive, wonderful self. There is going to be a man out there that wants to be asked out by you and wants to be proposed to by you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I really do truly believe. And I think that's clickbait. A lot of it. I do think.
I mean, also think that there are people out there that really are turned off by women that are assertive. And of course, that's not a person for me. But
well, I was fascinated. This is an old study, but in 2012, I guess they did a study at some liberal arts college where they asked a huge amount of the students, how do you feel about women proposing to men? And 0% of these kids said that they support women proposing. And that
so they all said
women should not propose, like the traditional. And this is like a liberal arts school where these people are being taught to have free minds and really go for it, but yet in this one little thing we're not allowed. But this goes back to like way back where, like, I was reading about the Romans and marriage proposals and stuff like that, where the women would have, I thought this was fascinating, but the women would have gold bands. Their wedding bands would be gold, and they would be able to go flaunt them in society, and people would see, oh, they belong to this man over there. And then when they're in home, they would actually have another ring for just house chores.
Oh, nice.
Just metal and stuff. But it's like, no, you're like we're still putting women in their place.
Totally. Well, and they were talking about I saw this somewhere. I can't remember where. Maybe I'm trying to cite things. I'm not good at it. But maybe it was that original article where they talked about benevolent sexism. And it tied into like, opening doors for women and pulling out chairs for women, and how that can seem like chivalry and it can seem like lovely. And certainly who doesn't like to have a door hold for them? Right. And we've talked about this a little bit before. Who doesn't like having their chair pulled out or be treated nicely? And I think that those things are all fine. But when it's only directed at women, then the message that's being sent is that women lose their autonomy a little bit, because it's like, you sit when I say sit. You walk when I, right. Also that you're too dainty to open that door. I have to do it for you. You're too delicate of a flower to pull your own seat open. I like the idea, because I think that I don't want to lose, like, I think people should be nice like that to people. So I like the idea of like, so I will sometimes hold the door open for you, kind gentleman, and like, I shall pull out the chair for you, sir, like, because I love you and I want to do something nice for you sometimes. And then sometimes you pull the door for me because you want me to walk through nicely. That's how I like to think about those things. But it was interesting. This benevolent sexism concept was interesting to me too.
Well, so when I saw my guy that I've been seeing, we went to brunch recently, and we got there, and he walked over to the other side of the table, and so I went to the other side of the table, and then he went to the other side of the table, and I was like, "What's happening right now?"
Like,
and he was going to
help you.
I know. And he started laughing. He was like, "I'm trying to get your chair," and I'm like, "Oh my god!"
That's the funniest thing I've ever heard.
But I had no idea that he was. I mean, it was just so silly, and he was laughing. But then I really should have said, like, "Baby, you don't have to do that." And he opens all the car doors too, and it's weird because we don't do that in New York, obviously, and he lives down in Atlanta,
don't drive in New York.
No, we don't drive. Nobody does that. But I always forget, like, when he opens the car door, I'm like, "Why are you coming? Oh, right, you're coming to my side to open the door." It kind of annoys me because then I'm sitting in the car for like 15 seconds by myself while he circles around. It's like, let's just open the car doors together. I'm going to tell him. I'm going to see him this weekend. I'm going to say, "Baby, you're awesome. You don't have to hold the car door for me."
And what I like about him doing that and making the effort to do that is that he really wants to do it.
That's true.
He's
actually,
not trying
I shouldn't take that away from him, because it's really cute.
He's not trying to do it to be because he thinks you're less than him. And I know this guy, like, he's not like that. Some people maybe would be like that.
Sure.
And I think that that's where sometimes this chivalry stuff, it can just be really nice. So I don't think we're trying to shit on chivalry at all.
No, let's keep it going.
Yeah.
But also it's like,
but I think we can
coming
do it
from a New York perspective.
Yeah.
I just forget.
Totally. That is so funny to me. That's so funny.
It's funny. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard. We're in a sort of like gray period, gray waters. Is that a thing? I don't know. Murky middle ground waters. We're not in the deep end. We're not in the shallows. We're not in the shallows now.
Is that what that song's about? I think it's really terrible.
No idea what that song's about.
I think that song is so weird. Britney Spears proposed to Kevin Federline, which we all heard about.
And knew it was a mistake. That was not a good example of somebody proposing.
Well, so this is, this kind of led me to a weird place. And this is not exactly, we were trying to find other things where women are leading in relationships. And this is actually the quite opposite, but I think it's worth talking about and not necessarily dedicating a full episode to.
Cool.
But I fell down a wormhole of the finances in a relationship, in a marriage.
Oh, yeah, interesting.
So it's 2020, and I was reading that over, I think it's like close to 60% still, it might even be larger statistic than that, because some of the places that I found, we're trying to cite more publications and stuff, but it was all like, it was a very high number, basically, percentage where the man still, this is in a heterosexual relationship, where the man is still making all the financial decisions within the home. Even when the woman is the breadwinner, the man, the husband will be making, and this is meaning like, I was reading like Forbes.com sort of thing, but it really puts the wife at a disadvantage, and it hurts the family, especially if you have children, if the spouses aren't doing their finances either together, because more times than not, this is sad to say, but the lifespan of men versus women, the woman then, if the man passes away, she has no idea how to handle the finances.
Right.
And it's especially when it comes to retirement.
Right.
So if you're in a marriage and your husband is in charge of the finances,
knock on his office door
or whatever, because I do think that is really important. And I know, with my parents, my dad was the one in charge forever. And just recently, as they get older and looking at retirement and all that sort of stuff, they both do it now together, which I think is really cool.
I think doing it together makes a lot of sense to me. Right. I think also it's weird when one person is making all those calls either way, and then are they fully aware of the needs of the other person then, or the kids or something, or like, where it's, I don't know. Finances in relationships have always sort of baffled me, because I personally have, even as a little kid, I don't know where this came from. I don't know if my grandmother said something to me about it at one point, but in my brain, I was always that we would have separate checking accounts, separate accounts.
Really?
Yeah. And I never wanted or was interested in, I understand the idea of having a joint account for joint spending. But maybe it was my parents. Maybe my parents had separate accounts. Maybe that's why I just was indoctrinating me. Because I felt like they had separate money. I don't feel like they were ever relying on.
See, that blows my mind. Whenever I hear separate accounts, I've growing up, I think I've always heard that the families have the same checking accounts.
I think that's more common. To then you just pool all your
I have a lot of friends who now have separate accounts. They get married, but they keep theirs separate, and then maybe they have like a honey pot that they
they've covered the costs for the kids or whatever and things like that. I definitely am an advocate of, I mean, I've never shared it. The only person I share an account with is you.
That's
work.
True. We're good.
That's the only person. So I've never had to deal with that otherwise in a relationship. But it's never been a thing I've ever wanted. And if anything, if someone was like, okay, now we're going to share an account, I'd be like, what? Like, what are we, okay, we have to have rules. What are we using this money for? It's not, I would want it to be very clearly stated. And that's been in me since day dot, really.
Well, something that took me aback when I was home in Nashville at Target, I went and got my eyes checked. I told you as you were coming in about my fun eye trip. But as I was like signing the papers goodbye, the woman was saying about, I don't know why, the receptionist was telling me about her trip to Panama City coming up. And I was like, oh, that's exciting. I think we were talking about the weather. I don't know. But she started talking about it. But then she said, I hope that my husband gives me enough allowance.
Yeah, it's so strange.
And she was an older woman, but I it just stopped me. And Yeah, I mean, I've definitely had girlfriends who talk about their husbands giving them an allowance.
Yeah. And look, I will say everybody's different. Every couple's different. And there's some just individuals, male or female, that are like really bad with money. Right?
Totally. So maybe you need an allowance.
You need an allowance.
I probably need an allowance.
No, I mean, I don't think you need an allowance.
Yeah, I know,
any means. But
but
I think there's some people that maybe under certain circumstances that do need it. And but I think that's another reason why I'm very pro having separate accounts, because then if you want to blow through your money, okay. But then maybe we put all the money in for the rent and stuff so you don't screw me over too. You know what I mean? Like that would be, because I know they say that finances are one of the things that ruin relationships more than anything almost, where people fight about money. I don't know. That's interesting. But that bums me out though, that the thing you said that was the most of a bummer to me was that even when the woman makes the most money, the men run the finances. I don't know if that's partly because women are like, oh, I don't want to think about it. And maybe women are also taught that they don't know how to do math, which is really frustrating to me too. So maybe some women just have an aversion to math, which I think is bullshit. But
yeah,
I
don't know. But also, here's a fun little history fact, totally separate from that. Did you know that the wedding band, like the joint wedding bands, didn't start until the 40s, around like the World War II era, because it was more of celebrating of like loyalty and like staying true to your partner. And then like the white wedding dress was invented around then also.
I mean, I did not know those specifics, but it doesn't surprise me because it's also the beginning of like the 50s were the beginning of like marketing and like, selling shit to people.
Housewife and the TV dinners. Right? Is that 50s?
Yep. But also just and new cars and new house and everything has to.
The American dream. That's what it really
keeping
was.
Up with the Joneses and capitalism with a capital C. No Reds. Say no to the Reds. All that stuff.
Right. Huh. Well, I would be very fascinated to hear from any of our listeners. I
was going to say.
If anyone has proposed to their boyfriend.
Or tell us why you think it's a bad idea.
Right. Oh, that too.
I'd be very, because if 0% of the kids these days want, are in favor of that, I want to know what the reasons are or what makes you squeamish about it. Or if you did, or if you're liking it, send us an email about that too.
Yeah. It's a fascinating concept.
It's crazy that it is fascinating. It shouldn't be. Why is it such a thing? But it is, I guess.
I know.
Anyway.
Oh, this is good.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Sure.
Well, I went through a lot of emotions today. I'm like on a real roller coaster. I almost started crying at one point. It's okay. We're good. I think we both were almost crying.
I know.
It's something in the water.
Oh, it's great. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to Difficult Women Podcast. Send us emails at difficultwomenpodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on social media, Instagram or Difficult Women Pod, or just go to Reformed Whores, which is across the board.
Hooray.
Hooray.
Hooray. Okay.
Bye.
Bye. When we first dated, I was so elated. You took me out almost every night. You romance pants on me sometimes we danced to 3. You took me home and held me tight. But lately I feel you've been pulling away. Things have felt out of the norm. So I snuck in your room and looked under your bed, and I found your stash of gay porn. I was quite shocked to find you like to get screwed from behind, but then it all started making sense. Gary's been calling you, he took you to the Blue Lagoon, and you haven't been the same ever